On a rainy day, high schooler Amane sees his classmate Mahiru alone in a park. Although they have never spoken before, he gives her his umbrella. The next day, Amane has a cold because he gave away his umbrella, and he tells his friend Itsuki he gave it to a lost girl. Mahiru is a very popular girl in his class, known for her top grades and her performance in sports. They don't talk during school, but after class Amane finds Mahiru at his apartment where Mahiru tries to return the umbrella. Mahiru is actually his neighbor and also lives alone. And when Amane's cold becomes worse, she tries to help him, but sees that his apartment is a mess. Mahiru then takes care of him while he is sick and makes him porridge. Mahiru is a good cook because she lives alone, but she wonders why Amane's apartment is so untidy. Amane asks why she was alone in the rain that day and if she had an argument with her boyfriend. But Mahiru becomes upset and tells him that she doesn't have a boyfriend. Amane thanks Mahiru for her help, but says that she doesn't owe him anymore, so she doesn't need to talk to him, as he doesn't feel a popular girl like her would like to hang out with him. The next day, Amane feels a lot better, and when he goes to school, he and his friend Itsuki talk about how popular and unapproachable Mahiru is at school. But that night, while drinking on his balcony, Mahiru sees him and discovers that Amane, who is a terrible cook, lives off of energy drinks and fast food. Mahiru can't stand how pathetic he is living, so she gives him leftovers from her home-cooked dinner. Amane calls her an angel, and Mahiru asks that he not call her an angel, and Amane finds the leftovers delicious. When he returns the container back, Mahiru has prepared more food for him the next day. Soon the pattern repeats, and Amane starts to cook for Mahiru every day to make sure he has a good diet and appetite. After a few days, Itsuki remarks that Amane seems to be looking better at school, and Amane is puzzled about the recent events. After school, Amane meets Mahiru at the supermarket nearby, and sees her budget shopping to make sure that she can get as much value out of the budget her family gave her. Amane helps her take her groceries home, but they take separate paths home because he thinks that she doesn't want to be seen with him. The next day, Mahiru finds Amane trying to clean the apartment, but it is so messy that he doesn't know where to start. Since Amane is so hopeless, Mahiru teaches him how to properly clean his apartment and do laundry. It takes them the whole day, so Amane offers to order takeout for dinner, and he discovers that Mahiru has never had fast food before. He also discovers that she comes from a well-off family and has not eaten pizza before. Over dinner, Amane wonders why, if Mahiru is from a rich family, she lives alone on a budget by herself. And later he confronts her about cooking dinner for him every day. She tells him that she is cooking for her own satisfaction, and to consider the meals a consequence of good luck. One day, Amane finds Mahiru injured at the park. She was trying to save a cat stuck in a tree when she sprained her ankle. Amane helps to treat her injury because he has some practice with medicine, and he offers to carry her back to their apartment complex. Since Mahiru doesn't want to be recognized by others, Amane gives her a jacket to wear to hide her identity. Mahiru apologizes for the trouble, but Amane tells her that he wouldn't abandon anyone in her situation. The next day at PE class, Amane talks to Itsuki about his classmate Yuta, who is known as the prince of the school, and Mahiru is known as the angel of the school. That night at Curious, Amane asks Mahiru if she is interested in Yuta, since all the girls at school seem to want to date him, but she tells him that good looks aren't everything. She gives Amane his dinner for the day, and he casually wonders if he could eat her cooking while it is fresh. And Mahiru agrees that they could eat together if he split the cost of the ingredients with her, but also if he pulls a move on her she will kick him. Mahiru doesn't think she is Amane's type because they don't seem that interested in each other, and she can relax around him because he doesn't act like the other guys. For the next dinner, Mahiru heads to Amane's house to cook while Amane sits uselessly on the couch. Mahiru makes an impressive array of dishes for dinner that Amane finds delicious, but Amane is a little bothered with the arrangement because they don't have a relationship with each other. The class gets their grades back from the recent tests, and Amane has scored well. Itsuki and his girlfriend Chidos joke that Amane is too hard working to focus on flirting. Chidos hears that Amane has gotten closer to a girl and wants to make friends with her, but Amane doesn't reveal Mahiru's identity. After dinner, Amane finds Mahiru studying and discovers that not only does she have the top score in the class, she is studying next year's material because she is so advanced. Amane wonders if she should relax a bit, but she tells him that she must have good grades or else. And when she leaves, Amane accidentally discovers Mahiru's birthday is in 4 days. He later tries to subtly ask Mahiru what she would like for her birthday, but she just wants better cooking knives. At school, Amane goes to Itsuki and Chidos for advice, and they tell him to get something casual and small. He follows their advice, and on her birthday he gives Mahiru hand cream and a teddy bear. Mahiru wanted to keep her birthday a secret, so she doesn't accept at first, until Amane states that the presents are a token of gratitude for cooking for him. Mahiru appreciates the gifts, and she reveals that at school she never reveals her birthday. Amane wonders why he is comfortable with a stranger knowing her birthday, but she tells him that they aren't strangers, and Amane feels confused about their relationship. One day Amane's mother Shihoko makes a surprise visit to his apartment. Amane tries to stop her, but she comes in after saying that she and his father pay the rent. Shihoko is pleasantly surprised with how clean the apartment is, and she remarks that Amane seems to be looking to eat well. In fact, Mahiru was in Amane's apartment when Shihoko arrived, so he tried to hide her in his bedroom. But Shihoko becomes suspicious when he seems to have dishes for 2 people. Shihoko demands to go into his bedroom and Amane tries to stop her, but he can't, so she discovers Mahiru taking a nap. Shihoko tells Amane that has a cute girlfriend, and Amane denies that they are dating, and Shihoko tells Amane that he should only invite girls that he cares about over. Mahiru wakes up and is embarrassed to be caught in this situation, while Shihoko introduces herself. Shihoko insists that Amane calls Mahiru by her first name, and Mahiru tries to explain they are just friends, but Amane's mother Shihoko is not listening to anybody, and she misunderstands the situation. They later explain to Shihoko that Mahiru only comes to cook and clean the apartment, but Shihoko says that they were destined to meet, and she warns Mahiru that Amane has no experience with girls. She teases them before leaving the apartment, and Amane apologizes to Mahiru for the awkward day, but Mahiru doesn't mind and she finds Shihoko very sweet and kind. She also accidentally reveals that her parents don't call her by her first name, and Amane calls her by her first name. Mahiru also calls him by his first name, and the two want to keep this a secret between themselves. Amane then gives Mahiru a spare key to his apartment as a sign of trust. At school, Amane scores well in the tests, but as usual Mahiru is the top scorer. To celebrate and give her encouragement, he decides to buy a cake for her, but she is surprised because being the top scorer is not unusual to the studious Mahiru. Mahiru offers to eat the cake together, and the two are embarrassed when they start feeding each other. Later, Amane feels like Mahiru is spoiling him a bit, so he tries to go grocery shopping to cook for himself. He meets Mahiru, who doubts Amane's cooking abilities, so she looks over his cooking. But since he is a novice cook, Amane's cooking doesn't turn out well. Mahiru still encourages him, and tells him that making the effort is important and he will improve over time. Amane doesn't want Mahiru to stop cooking, but he wants to help her from time to time. At school, Chidos and Itsuki ask if they can use Amane's apartment for a Christmas Eve party, and initially Amane tries to refuse but then accepts as long as they finish before dinner. Amane later asks Mahiru if she has plans for Christmas Eve, but since all her friends will be with their boyfriends, she will be alone. Amane feels bad for her, so he asks if they could spend Christmas together. Mahiru accepts as long as he teaches her how to play his video games. Chidos and Itsuki arrive for the Christmas Eve party at his house, and they wonder how his apartment is so clean. Chidos mentions that many boys asked Mahiru to spend Christmas with them, but she refused. It starts to snow outside, so Chidos and Itsuki go to the balcony to see the snow, but they are shocked when they see Mahiru on her own balcony, discovering that Mahiru and Amane are neighbors. In his apartment, Amane and Mahiru explain the situation to Itsuki and Chidos. Mahiru explains that she saw Amane was living pathetically alone. She wanted to help, but that they don't have a relationship with each other. But Itsuki finds their relationship a bit strange, and Chidos wonders why they are such an odd couple. Chidos and Itsuki agree to keep their living situation a secret, and Chidos assures Amane that nobody at school would believe them anyway. Chidos tries to make friends with Mahiru, but Mahiru is a bit embarrassed and shy. They all formally introduce each other and they slowly relax over small talk. Chidos then talks to Mahiru about cooking, but she wants to improve her own skills. After they leave, Amane apologizes to Mahiru since their secret was revealed, but she is happy because she had fun with the others. Although secretly Amane had hoped their secret would last longer. Mahiru brings over beef stew that she had made, and Amane thinks that the dinner is more exceptional than usual. Mahiru reveals that she learned to cook from the woman who raised her. She later plays video games the first time but is kind of bad at it. Although she starts to get better, Amane teases her for her embarrassing moments, and he later gives her a prize for getting first place in the game. Amane gives her a key case because she likes practical gifts, and he gave her a spare key earlier. Amane discovers that Mahiru had actually exchanged contact information with his mother, who has been sending pictures of a young Amane to her. Mahiru parts his hair and discovers that if Amane cleaned up a bit he would be quite handsome, and the two share a moment together. Mahiru then gives Amane a scarf, and when he later tries to compliment her, she quietens him out of embarrassment. They later go out into the balcony, where Amane is starting to appreciate this daily life. The next day Mahiru discovers she is starting to get a cold, and Amane insists on taking care of her since she took care of him previously. Since she prefers to keep her apartment a secret, Amane puts Mahiru in his bed. Mahiru unexpectedly asks to hold hands until she falls asleep, and Amane agrees. He later feeds and looks after her, and Mahiru tells him that growing up she had learned cooking from her family's maid Koyuki. Amane watches after Mahiru until she falls asleep, and Amane becomes upset because he thinks he has fallen in love with her. Amane is spending New Year's Eve with Mahiru when he gets a text from his parents saying that they will be visiting him the next day. While on the couch, Mahiru falls asleep on Amane because she spent the entire day before making food for New Year's Eve. Amane is a bit embarrassed, so he places her in his bed and goes to sleep on his sofa. The next day Mahiru wakes up in his room with Amane looking over her, and she reveals that for a moment she woke up the night before but decided to stay in the room. Later, Amane's parents Shudo and Shihoko arrive, bringing some luggage. Shudo formally introduces himself to Mahiru, who is also in the apartment, and Shudo tells Mahiru if Amane bullies her that his parents will scold him. The four of them chat over tea, and Mahiru discovers Amane lives alone from his parents because of an incident in the past. Shihoko wants to visit a shrine for New Year's, but Amane is worried that their high school classmates might see him and Mahiru together at the shrine. Shihoko helps Mahiru dress traditionally for the shrine, and Mahiru is happy to see Amane is dressed up as well. They go to a nearby shrine and make prayers, and Mahiru tells Amane that she prayed for peaceful days. They later go to the shrine festival, and have snacks and refreshments together, and realize they shared an accidental kiss by having a drink together. That night when they say goodnight, Amane unexpectedly pats Mahiru's hair. She doesn't mind, but tells him not to tease her, and she retreats back into her apartment calling him a dummy. The next day his parents leave but ask Amane to visit them in the summer, implying that he should bring Mahiru as well. The next day at school they discover there are rumors that Mahiru has a boyfriend because she had been spotted at the shrine on New Year's. But luckily, nobody had managed to identify Amane, so their secret is still safe. Amane feels they are lucky since he thinks that they shouldn't be seen together, but Mahiru scolds him for his low opinion of himself and that he should have more confidence in himself, and she isn't complimenting him blindly. Weeks passed and Valentine's Day is approaching. Chidos goes to Amane's apartment to ask for his advice on what chocolates to give to Itsuki, and Amane tells her that she should ask Mahiru, who has a better sense. Their talk about Valentine's reminds Amane about his growing crush on Mahiru. Later over tea, Mahiru reveals that she doesn't give any chocolates to guys at their school to avoid starting rumors in the class, and Chidos happily states that she will buy chocolates for Mahiru. The next day Amane and Itsuki watch as their popular classmate Yuta gets tons of chocolates from different girls at school. Itsuki reveals he got chocolates from Chidos, and he wonders if perhaps Mahiru will give some to Amane. Chidos gives spicy chocolate to Amane wishing him good luck, and Amane gives Yuta a shopping bag to carry all of his chocolates. That night at his apartment, Mahiru gives Amane hot chocolate, and he later finds a present of homemade non-sweet chocolate from Mahiru. The next day at school, Yuta gives back Amane's bag, and since they don't normally speak to each other they start rumors. Itsuki later talks about his relationship with Amane, and tells him that one day he wants to marry Chidos with her parents' approval. Amane later decides to give a present on White Day to Mahiru, even though she tells him that it wasn't needed. Mahiru has also found out that Amane's birthday was before Christmas, and is a little annoyed he didn't say anything. She tells him that they will celebrate it next year, which embarrasses them because it implies they will be together the next year. The next day Amane goes to buy the White Day gift, and is surprised to see Mahiru dressed up that night. Amane gives her a bracelet, and a ticket for anything she wants, and she uses it to ask him to put the bracelet on her. They share a moment together that he can't stop thinking about the next day. Amane goes to Itsuki for advice, and Itsuki tells him that he is repressing his feelings for Mahiru because he might be afraid of being rejected and ruining their relationship. Amane finds Mahiru wearing an apron that night, and although he is glad that they are growing closer, he is worried about his feelings. One day at school, Itsuki approaches Amane and asks him if he can stay over at his apartment. Itsuki had a fight with his father, and Amane allows him to stay over. Mahiru cooks dinner for them, which Itsuki finds delicious. That night, Itsuki tells Amane that it's only a matter of time that his feelings become revealed, and that he needs to confess sooner or later, but Amane refuses. A worried Chidos invites herself over to the apartment to check up on Itsuki. She is excited to eat Mahiru's cooking as well, and they are all impressed over the dinner Mahiru makes that evening. Chidos mentions that Mahiru always seems aloof at school, and she appreciates this side of the girl outside of school. Mahiru agrees to host Chidos over at her apartment, and later that evening Chidos sends pictures of Mahiru to Amane. In one of the pictures, he discovers that Mahiru keeps the teddy bear he gave her close, but she is embarrassed of the picture the next day. Mahiru gets a text that worries her, and she hides it from him. The next day, Amane sees a woman scolding Mahiru before leaving the apartment complex. Mahiru reveals that the woman was her mother Seo, who hates Mahiru because she was an unintentional child. In the apartment, Mahiru reveals that her parents do not love each other and are married for business reasons. Since they did not intend to have children, they did not raise her and assign servants to take care of her. Growing up, Mahiru was ignored by her parents, who only gave her money. She tried to earn their love by working hard at school and sports, but to this day they still ignore her presence. Amane also found out they want to get a divorce, but can't because of her, and that was the day Amane found her. Amane comforts her and lets her cry into his shoulder while they hug. Mahiru starts to feel sad and self-deprecating, and Amane compliments her to cheer her up and tells her that she is a wonderful person no matter what her family thinks. He tells her that other people see her working hard to be a kind and good person, and that a lot of people like him, his parents, Itsuki, and Chidos all care for her and think she is special. They later go for a walk to see the cherry blossoms together, and Mahiru unexpectedly hugs him. Mahiru reveals that she never appreciated cherry blossoms because she was always alone in the spring, but she likes them a little more now as she holds hands with him. A new year starts for the class, and Amane now shares a class with Mahiru. Yuta is also in their class, but he reminds Amane of his troubled past in middle school. That evening, Mahiru remarks that Amane seems to be feeling a little down, so she lets him use her lap as a pillow while she plays with his hair. Mahiru pats his head, mentioning that Chitos told her that head pats have a healing quality. They talk about sharing a class together, but while Mahiru is excited to be in the same class, Amane is worried that their secret might become revealed to their classmates. Amane then falls asleep in her lap, and when he wakes up feeling better, Mahiru tells him that he should lean on her when he feels troubled. Amane later goes to the arcade to win more stuffed animals from Mahiru. He enjoys watching her play with the stuffed animals and pats her head. She insists on doing something in return, and he requests that she make pudding that night. The pudding is delicious, and Amane earnestly thanks her for everything, which makes Mahiru embarrassed. The next day, Yuta approaches Amane and Itsuki asking to have lunch together. Amane is a little uncertain of Yuta acting so friendly and asks Yuta if he really wants to be friends with him. He notices Mahiru giving him the side eye, and she reveals that night she is a bit jealous that Itsuki and Yuta can talk so freely with Amane in class. She wonders how to increase his self-confidence, and that maybe they can talk in class sometime. They get the opportunity when their teacher announces a group cooking project, and Mahiru uses the project to partner with Amane. Itsuki and Chitos also join their project, and at school they all joke about Amane's bad cooking, and he realizes he is the only one in the group that seriously cannot cook. They cook for the school project, but when they are almost finished, a clumsy classmate almost spills hot food on Mahiru, but Amane saves her. He scolds his classmates to be more careful, and his classmates are forced to clean up the mess. Their classmates notice that Amane and Mahiru are acting more familiar, and that night Mahiru is upset because she wants to act casual with Amane in public, but he still refuses. The class gets a week off from school, and they wonder what to do. Although Mahiru had promised to teach Chitos to cook, she had no other plans. They decide to go shopping together, and Mahiru insists on using the coupon he gave her during White Day. They decide not only to go shopping but spend the day together. Chitos later arrives to get a cooking lesson from Mahiru. But while Mahiru is teaching Chitos, Amane falls asleep on the sofa. Chitos later teases them on how cute they act together, and Amane tests out the cooking and finds it delicious. After Chitos leaves, Mahiru apologizes for messing with Amane while he was asleep, but he doesn't mind. They talk about what they should wear when they go out, and Amane states his preference for a well-dressed look. He later sees Mahiru has dressed up for the occasion, although she feels a little embarrassed. They go to a cat cafe together where Mahiru plays with the cats. She orders a drink, but it is too cute for her to drink. While playing with the cats, Amane compares Mahiru to a cat, since she became friendly and affectionate only after some time together. Mahiru accuses Amane of treating her like a cat. They later go shopping together, where some girls approach Amane and Mahiru acts protective over him. Mahiru then wins a cat plushie from the arcade and gives it to Amane. They unexpectedly meet Yuta, who mistakes them for dating. After they explain the situation to Yuta, they ask Yuta not to share their secret with the class. Amane later talks about Yuta with Mahiru, and Mahiru notices his low self-esteem issues seem to be surfacing again. She encourages him to have a bit more confidence in himself. The next day, Amane hangs out with Yuta and Itsuki, and Yuta quickly deduces that Amane has feelings for Mahiru that he is trying to deny. When he returns that night, he finds Mahiru looking at childhood photos of himself sent by his mother. They struggle over the phone and fall on each other. They get close enough to almost kiss, but Amane stops himself and retreats, while Mahiru seems disappointed. It is soon Mother's Day, and Mahiru reminds Amane to do something for Shihoko. He plans to send some gifts to his parents, but he won't be returning home to see them. Mahiru wonders why he lives alone, and why his parents let him since he is so bad at cooking and cleaning. Although Amane is reluctant at first to tell her, he reveals that in his home city he made 3 friends in middle school, but his friends manipulated him for money and spread rumors about him behind his back. This betrayal of friendship caused Amane to close off and lose his ability to trust others, and he eventually moved and switched schools. Mahiru promises him that he can always depend on her, and that she will support him. Amane is uncomfortable that in addition to cooking and cleaning, Mahiru is emotionally supporting him now as well. But they reconcile over a hug, and Mahiru tells him that she doesn't want to see him depressed and she wouldn't act this way around anyone else. His support inspires Amane, who starts to work on bettering himself and his confidence. Later at school, rumors spread around class because another classmate had spotted Mahiru with a guy. Mahiru confirms she was on a date with a treasured person. That evening she tells Amane that she wasn't lying, and that he is her treasured person, but Amane is worried that their classmates will get the wrong idea when their secret is revealed. Mahiru cheers him up and tells him that it doesn't matter what their classmates think. That night Amane has a wet dream about Mahiru, which embarrasses him, so he acts strange around Mahiru. She confronts him because of his cold demeanor, and he finally explains the dream to Mahiru, which she finds very funny. Mahiru teases him for acting so uncomfortable. The new class exams are approaching, and the group plan to study together. Mahiru promises that she will reward Amane if he scores well. The group later arrives to study and have dinner together. Amane thanks Mahiru for everything, and she tells him she loves taking care of him, and Amane becomes shocked to hear her say the word love. The class exam scores are released, and Amane has scored 6th while Mahiru has scored 1st as usual. Amane wants to give Mahiru a reward for scoring 1st in the class, but when he asks her what she wants, she tells him that her wish is something he can't give. Since he scored well in the exam, Mahiru insists that Amane use her lap as a pillow, and while he is resting on her lap, Mahiru cleans his ear. Mahiru then plays with his hair, and she admits she secretly enjoys it. Amane then falls asleep in her lap being pampered by Mahiru, but when he wakes up he discovers she had fallen asleep at all. Amane takes a half-asleep Mahiru back to her apartment to rest, and he sees her bedroom for the first time. A tired Mahiru asks him to sleep with her, but an embarrassed Amane leaves. Mahiru apologizes the next day for falling asleep and asks if Amane saw anything in her bedroom. Amane tells her he only saw the recipe books and the stuffed animals she keeps, but he also tells her that she invited him to share the bed, which shocks her. Mahiru tries to hint that she would like to share a bed with him, but Amane deliberately cuts her off and changes the subject. It soon becomes summer and Mahiru has switched to the summer uniform. She shows off her bare legs to Amane and tries to provoke him into saying that he is attracted to her bare legs. At school, the other girls are gossiping about Mahiru's potential boyfriend and subtly saying bad things about her. He tells Mahiru about it that evening, and she tells him that because of her popularity it is inevitable that other girls would gossip about her. Mahiru says that they probably don't hate her as a person, but dislike the perfect personality she puts on at school. Amane states that he prefers the real Mahiru, and says she is way cuter than her angel personality at school. Mahiru admits that she is a bit tired of her angelic personality at school, and states that she would rather just be herself all the time. Amane is happy for her but admits that he enjoys that he can see her true personality when the other guys at school can't, and she teases him for acting so protective, and that he will always be very special to her. Mahiru starts to compliment him, and an embarrassed Amane threatens to kiss her to make her stop teasing him, but it backfires because she kisses him on the cheek and runs away, leaving Amane stunned. Amane goes to school the next day feeling awkward, and Itsuki wonders if something happened between him and Mahiru. Itsuki and Yuta try to cheer him up and increase his self-confidence. And that evening Mahiru and Amane reassure each other that the kiss was meaningless, but both are suppressing their feelings. It is soon sports day for the class where they will take part in competitions. Amane isn't very athletic, and he admits to Mahiru that he doesn't really like being forced to do sports. They feed each other, and Amane is inspired to do better in the competitions for Mahiru. Amane and Mahiru compete in the scavenger race, but even though they are on opposite teams they work together to finish the race. They hold hands to reach the goal at the end of the race, shocking the class because Mahiru is holding a guy's hand. The scavenger race accidentally reveals that Mahiru and Amane have feelings for each other because they were assigned to find someone beautiful and someone special to them. The other guys in class confront Amane, and he reveals that he was the guy who was spotted with Mahiru all those times in the past. The guys also criticize Amane in front of Mahiru and tell Mahiru that she deserves someone less dull and more stylish, but she corrects them and says that Amane is kind and non-judgmental and that the other guys should stay out of their business. With their secret revealed to the class and their feelings revealed in the scavenger race, Amane decides he needs to confront his feelings. That evening, Amane earnestly apologizes to Mahiru for purposefully and selfishly ignoring her feelings while she has been supporting him. He tells her that he never thought he could rely on someone ever again because of his past, but that he truly has fallen in love with her. He thanks her for changing him and improving his self-esteem, finally asking her to be his girlfriend. Mahiru accepts as they embrace. And this is all for this video. Make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.